Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on time. It's so overwhelming. Of course, I've used the chat box over the last 5-10 minutes trying to welcome most of you personally. Thank you so much for joining in on time. It means so much in these difficult times to show this commitment to personal growth and development, and it just shows how serious we are when it comes to wanting to invest in our own selves in this period. I'm sure when the curtains raise and we go out into this world with better skills, better knowledge, and a better attitude, it will show in our results. It will show in the development and growth that we will have in the life ahead. And I congratulate you for taking this first step, showing your commitment and coming in to invest the most valuable resource, which is time. And I know it's not a very easy time of the day, not a very convenient time of the day. Many people take an afternoon siesta after a good lunch, and they've got used to that routine. But you guys have showed up on this call, and we've got 62 participants already. So thank you so much once again. Welcome to this, I would say, most essential skill webinar on making online presentations like a pro. And I once again welcome those who've just joined us in the last couple of minutes. Let's get into the program. I'm of course going to introduce myself a bit, but let me actually share with you the PowerPoint slide which we will use and refer as we walk through the next 90 minutes together. So thank you, Abhishek, for this opportunity. Thank you, DigiGrad, for the platform. And they've taken the efforts to reach out to you through this, through the digital medium and invite you to this program. And I think all of that groundwork that the team at DigiGrad has done deserves a lot of appreciation and recognition. My name is Gopal Gera, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome you with a hearty welcome and a good evening to this program. I have 17 years of experience, as Abhishek introduced me. Large part of my experience in the early years was with a corporate, ICICI Prudential. After I completed my MBA program, I traveled the sales journey. And after about a decade of experience there, I branched out with the passion that I could really build for myself to try and impact people, their behaviors, and their results that they can produce in their business. And ever since, I've been on my own, serving corporates, entrepreneurs, business owners, and aspiring professionals, and bringing programs that could transform behaviors and therefore results for them in the world, in the world that they live in. Why this program? I mean, Abhishek, of course, gave you an introduction as to how a lot of behaviors have now moved from the face-to-face to the virtual world, and therefore working with the virtual world and trying to impact and influence people in this world virtually is a skill that doesn't come to many of us very naturally. Many of us could have uncomfortable feelings when it comes to looking into the camera and communicating with people. It's always easier to communicate face-to-face. Making presentations face-to-face is easier, although even that is challenging. But when we move it to an entire virtual platform, then it becomes even more difficult. So I'd like to continue to make this as interactive as possible. I know we can't open up for interactions through you speaking, but the chat box is always available. So if you think that a large part of transactions, business, social interactions, and I would say regular communication has moved digitally, then put digital in the chat box. Put virtual in the chat box. Let's look at how many of you feel that your communication is starting to move more virtual than it was ever before. So let's see some responses in the chat box to know if everyone's here participating. Yes, I can see quite a few of you. Thank you so much. Dheer, I can see Shivek, Shivani, Sumant, Parmeshwar, Chandu, fantastic, virtual. So all of us recognize that this trend which has begun is here to stay. And we know that if we are going to continue to have this behavior, both in our business, whether it's interaction with our own team, with our superiors in making presentations and updates to them, whether it's with stakeholders internally so that we can collaborate, or with stakeholders externally like customers, distributors, and others. I think our interactions have to become even more effective in the online mode, in the virtual mode. And that's the need that we figured out when we spoke to entrepreneurs professionals, students who are making that bridge from being a student to to taking a corporate life. So this came in as a large ask from that community at large, and we thought we'll deliver a webinar in this platform so that we can bring in some value addition to all of you. And that's the whole context of this webinar. Thank you so much once again for coming in, and let's dive straight into the program. So why is it required? Building from what we just spoke about, I think the purpose of influence is, encapsulated in this acronym called ICE, I-C-E. I is standing for influence. We need to make communication not to inform, but to influence. How many of you feel it's important not just to inform, but to influence? If you feel it's important to influence, put yes in the comment box. Put yes if you feel communication is not just about giving information. It's not about telling, but it's about selling. It's about influencing people to take action. It's about getting people to start behaving and taking action. Fantastic. I can see a lot of yeses. So I understand that all of us feel that communication is not just about coming online, meeting people face to face and giving them information, because that is always available. I can send a mail, but it's important for me to influence using either a virtual or an online or a face-to-face platform. And that's the first requirement of, using online platforms effectively. The second one is to connect. We have large teams at work. We need to collaborate, with either our stakeholders, our distributors, whoever that we interact with. It's a world of collaboration. We can't achieve anything individually. To collaborate, we need to connect. We need to connect. We need to keep the engagement going, and that's the E. Both are interconnected. We need to engage, which is continuing the connect. And we need to keep this going. In a world where 45, 50 days we've been away physically, it's important that we don't miss out on this connect and engagement. And that's the purpose of mastering the skill of effective online communication. So this is what I wanted to bring forth first. The ICE, which is I standing for influence, C standing for connect, and E standing for engage. And if we can do this effectively or online, then a lot of our problems, a lot of our challenges will be solved. And there's, of course, a lot more opportunity and savings when we look at online communication versus offline communication. We've seen a lot of things moving online, not just training programs. And I'm going to show you a few statistics of how people are learning in this COVID-19 world, how they've adapted. And we've seen sales congresses, we've seen meetings, we've seen recognition platforms, we've seen celebrations, everything moving online. People are using this for great connect with family, great connect with business partners, everything. And I think we have a lot more skill to unfold when it comes to such requirements of using the virtual medium for communication and presentation. So that's the requirement, ladies and gentlemen. Now, to explore this in better detail, let me just throw some statistics, light on some statistics. The shift towards online learning. Just look at what's happened over the last year, and more importantly, accelerated over the last couple of months. 77% of the corporations today are using online learning. It was unprecedented. Statistics like this have never been seen before, but many people today are taking to the online virtual platform when it comes to learning, upgrading skills, knowledge, and the attitude required to really upskill yourself and then apply it in your business. 51% of companies that delivered at least one training program online has been observed. And 80% of the employees who used e-learning courses have been clearly observed. So 80% plus of employees are using e-learning courses. 77% of companies are using this platform for creating learning opportunities, and 51% of the companies are delivering at least one training in a structured way online. So that's the trend that we're looking at. And this is the trend in learning. Then let's see who this applies to. So as I mentioned, it was only a good to have skill in the pre-COVID period, but now today it's a necessary skill. Not many of us have actually been using virtual communication as effectively as it is now required. So let's see the different segments and who this kind of a program is meant for. How many of you are corporate professionals here? People who are working in companies or aspiring. I know there are some students too who are aspiring, or graduates who are looking to make that bridge from campus to corporate. So people who are aspiring to get into the corporate world, people who are in the corporate world who want to upskill yourself, can we see you putting in a chat box, corporate professional? Let's understand how many of you are corporate professionals. Corporate professionals. I'm waiting to see how many of you in this are CP. Yes. Yeah, you can continue putting CP, corporate professional, Abhishek Kumar, Shruti, Amit, and a lot of you, Durel, fantastic, Dharan, Saurabh, Lakshmi, fantastic. A lot of us are corporate professionals. Yeah, and I think this program is meant for us. Thank you so much. Mallikarjun has raised his hand, fantastic. So a lot of us are corporate professionals, and all of you already acknowledge the fact that today it's an essential skill in the global marketplace. No more are we looking to communicate and trying to bridge the gap in communication by traveling, because that's not possible. And going forward, it will be lesser in terms of opportunity to meet people face to face. So it's an essential skill today. It's no more a good to have skill. Effective presentations today are the order of the day, because when you're working in the virtual world, constant updates, constant reviews require us to make structured and, I would say, thinking on the feet kind of presentations, where we are expected to update our superiors and the people that we want to collaborate with. And that is an essential skill to build influence, not just to inform. And of course, those who are looking to upskill themselves, get ready for a corporate job, I think this is an essential #1 skill required for us, because interpersonal skills were always in demand, but when it comes to virtual interactions and presentation skills, then I think it's increased in importance in these times. So it's meant for people who are corporate professionals. And thank you for joining us, those who are corporate professionals. How many of you here are entrepreneurs and business owners? A lot of you have reached out to us about this program, and it'll be good to understand how many of you are business owners and entrepreneurs. Can you put it in a chat box, please? Can you identify yourself if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner? Yes, Parmeshwar says he's a business owner. Fantastic. Who else? Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business owners. Fantastic. Aslam, Dharan, Vikas. Fantastic. A lot of you are entrepreneurs and business owners, and you'll understand that today, if you want to take your business from a local business, from a local market that you serve, to a global market, the only way to reach that global market is to be able to master these skills of being able to present yourself virtually, build a virtual brand, use digital mediums better. And I think that's the order of the day. So you grow your business from a local to a global market, you leverage on emerging trends, build a distinctive identity for your business and yourself. And I think this is non-negotiable, because the way business is done has changed. The opportunities that today will open up will also continue to change. People who are ready with the necessary skills will leverage on opportunities much faster than those people who will have to catch up sooner or later. So welcome, gentlemen, those who have acknowledged themselves as business owners and entrepreneurs, welcome. And I think you'll find value in what we will uncover and walk together with in the next 80 odd minutes. Now we have the next segment here, who are trainers, coaches, teachers, transformers. A lot of respect for this community. And we all know, we just saw the slide previously as to how much of learning is happening online. And how many of you here are trainers, teachers, coaches? Can we quickly have a show of hands? Can we quickly look at how many of you are teachers, trainers, coaches, please, in the chat box? Anyone? Anyone? And if we are not teachers, trainers, coaches, then I think when it comes to imparting learning, yeah, we have Sandesh here, who's a trainer, Navya, who's a teacher. Fantastic. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this program. You will acknowledge the fact that, you know, a lot of training programs are moving online. Nikita is an educator, and David is a trainer and a coach. I can tell you from my own experience over the last 2 months, a lot of my corporate programs have already moved online. A lot of our engagement and interactions to consulting clients have moved online. People are learning more than ever before. People have learned have acknowledged the fact that they need to get out of this period better skilled, with better knowledge, and the only way to even impart it today, if you are not a trainer but an entrepreneur or a business owner, is to train people virtually. So this skill of being able to impart training, make effective presentations online, I think is the calling. And that's the next segment that will benefit from this webinar today. And eventually, let me talk about a big segment that will benefit from this new world, is the segment where more women will participate in the workforce than ever before. We will have a lot of opportunities that will be given to, say, women who have not been participating actively because of challenges of travel, challenges of flexible working kind of a framework. And I think as we move into the post-COVID period, I think women who are educated, who are today managing the homes as responsibly as they would manage a business, will get opportunities to be able to balance both. And this essential skill of that's required for working from home women or women who will participate in a very dynamic workforce will be required as a necessary skill. So how many of you are here in this call are women who are either working or are looking to maybe make inroads into the corporate world, with this skill? Let's also invite those who are women here who want to pursue a professional career, who want to take up entrepreneurship. And Shivani has raised a hand. Fantastic. Lovely. So anybody else? Woman who's looking to make inroads as a corporate professional. So we have one or two, and great. Fantastic. Thanks for acknowledging. And these are the 4 segments. And therefore a good to have skill that was in the pre-COVID period today is a necessary skill. Let's look at the facts and statistics, gentlemen and ladies. So if you master presentation skills today, you will have a viable and marketable skill that 90% of your peers and competitors may never possess. And this is coming from sheer research. I'm going to substantiate this with a lot more facts that I'm going to talk to you about in a couple of slides. 90% of the peers and competitors, as we move into the new world, will not possess this essential skill that was earlier negotiable and today is not negotiable. And therefore, the one way that we can differentiate ourselves in the new world is to be able to get serious about this, work towards picking up tools, techniques, frameworks, some of which we will offer to you in this webinar itself. And the journey needs to continue, not just in knowing them, but in applying them to change the way we are, being more effective in the virtual world. So let's look at what are the building blocks of an effective online presentation. Essentially, there are 4 building blocks, and that's what I'm going to introduce to you in this slide. So effective online presentations is about, first thing, managing self. It's very important that we manage ourselves, and everything starts with the mindset. Everything starts with the belief. Everything starts with the mindset of having the presenter's mindset. So 4 essential elements about managing the self is gaining the presenter's mindset. And that's so critical because I've seen so many people with good content, good insights, and people will love to listen to them because they're experts, but somehow they feel less confident. They are all over the place. They are not organized. They don't have their minds in control. They're too nervous and they break down because of this. They're unable to deliver their message as powerfully. They have a message to the world. They have a message for their business. They can impact people's lives. But just because they can't manage themselves effectively, they somehow end up having a nervous breakdown. Okay, and therefore, it's important to eliminate fear, gain confidence. The belief and self-image that you carry reflects in your behavior, confidence, conviction, and therefore influences action on the other side. And finally, talking about self, it's about managing the 3 V's of communication. I'm going to talk about the 3 V's of communication detailed in a slide that's going to follow. I'm going to invite you to share how many of you today feel that you feel less confident, you feel nervous, you're not your best self, you can't give your best, you haven't given your best in the recent interactions that you've done online. How many of you feel you're nervous? Can we acknowledge this? And nothing wrong in acknowledging it. Let me tell you, the biggest fear that people have, even bigger than the fear of death, is the fear of making presentations, is the fear of public speaking. So how many of you have this fear? Can you put it in the chat box saying fear? I see a few people have raised their hands. Thank you for acknowledging virtual presentation has been challenging. Yes, there's a lot of fear. A lot of us have. I can read that. I can see it. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. The first thing is, see, ABC, guys. We want to change. There's an ABC to change. That's the formula. Awareness before change. Everything starts by being aware, self-aware. What's happening to me when I'm interacting with people? How do I present myself when I'm online? What's holding me back? Can I relieve myself of these things that are holding me back so that I'm able to express myself openly, honestly, and with that open and honest communication, with that conviction, I make things happen. So I think this is the first building block of managing self, very essential building block. I see a lot of you who have acknowledged this, and statistics are no different. A lot of us feel nervous when it comes to interacting with people. This nervousness goes to a next level when it's online, when it's virtual, because when you're speaking virtually, all I can see now is my camera. That's it. I have to assume and imagine a good friend of mine or someone who's in the audience whom I know in my mind and then communicate with you. I can't see all of you right now. And I think all of this void that I'm feeling is the same feeling each of you will get when you communicate virtually. So when you can't see someone face to face, you cannot maintain eye contact. You cannot get the right affirmations and confirmations from people that they're receiving a message. It's even more challenging. And that fear, that anxiety moves one level up. And I think this is essential for us to first overcome before we move to the next facet. So that's about managing self and acknowledging the fact first, and then doing something about it, using a framework, seeing what's stopping you, and then helping yourself to express yourself and give the message that you want to give in a very impactful way. Second element of managing effective online presentations is managing your content. It's very important to manage your content, and a lot of things go into managing your content. What should be the content? And even before we answer the question of what should be the content is, what is the purpose of your message? Is it to inform? Is it to convince? Is it to express yourself? Is it to get people to act on it? Is it to get ideas generated? What is it about? Is it to recognize people? Is it to train? What's the purpose of your communication? That's the first thing. Second element is you need to analyze whom you're communicating with. Today, I analyzed some of you. How many of you are entrepreneurs? How many of you are business owners? How many of you are trainers, coaches? And how many of you are professionals or aspiring professionals? And how many of you are women? So I now have a fair idea that a lot of you today are either professionals or, working professionals and maybe entrepreneurs. Few people who are students and very few who are women. And I think today, having to know this in the first 10 minutes of me speaking, you will see me using examples and flavors in what I'm going to communicate that will apply to entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, maybe some students who are wanting to become professionals, not as much to the others where I feel, I can channelize communication according. So it's important to know whom you're speaking with. It's important to know what the purpose of communication is. And according to that, you structure your content. There is an SOS framework that I'm going to talk about in a couple of slides. Using this SOS framework, we will be able to craft content that can impact the audience and through the understanding that you have of the purpose that you want to communicate. So it starts with purpose, understanding audience, using the SOS framework, and then structuring your PPT. And there you follow the ABC technique, which I will talk about in a few slides. So I'm just giving you the overview right now that there are 4 building blocks. First is managing yourself. Second is managing your content. And these are the contents within these 2 modules. The third one is managing audience. Managing audience in a face-to-face environment when we are interacting, looking at each other is far more easier, although even that is challenging for many. That's far more easier than engaging audience in a virtual platform. So as you see, I've just tried to engage some of you by welcoming you on the call right in the beginning. Some of you responded, and that was a good way to break the ice. I tried to personalize my wishes to you. as you all entered into this call, and some of you were early, and I think you all deserved that acknowledgement of having taken the effort of joining a webinar as early as maybe 3:50, 3:40. And that's one way to just start to engage audience. That's what I've just tried to do today. The other way is, of course, to get responses and solicit responses, polls, and keep the interaction going. But it's not just doing this. There are frameworks to help you manage the audience better. Let's talk about some of them. We need to create voluntary engagement. Nobody can force people to participate. And everyone needs to believe that it is their responsibility to participate, because if they participate, they learn. If they participate, they are engaged, and they don't go off track with their attention. So it's important to create a space where people believe that they have created some voluntary engagement. How do we do that? We're going to talk about it. 2, we need to create rapport, relationship, and trust with the audience so that they can freely communicate and keep that two-way traffic going. 3rd is to work on the ethos, pathos, and logos. It might just sound a little complicated right now, but I'm going to talk to you about the triangle of ethos, pathos, and logos, and how it can help in fostering better engagement, better participation built on trust. And of course, we have perceptual and inquiry arousal. How do you get the attention of people? It's called the AIDA model: attention, interest, desire, and action. It works by ensuring that you gain people's attention first and sustain that attention through inquiry arousal. Asking questions, answering questions, keeping the interaction going. That's what it's all about. There are questioning techniques. There is a way to ask questions and answer questions. And that's the depth that we could explore in a module like managing audience. And then finally, it's about using presentation aids, caselets, videos, polls, breakaways, a lot of these that one can use, even icebreakers that we could use even in a virtual environment, keeps the engagement and audience's energy up there. And the top gear strategy that is available with the managing audience module. So before I talk about the next module, I'd like to know from many of you, have we been learning something? Are we learning something? Can you put in the chat box, learning? Are we getting something of value? Great. I can see some of you putting that. Yes, you're learning something. Great. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for acknowledging this, that you're learning something. Thank you also for telling me that you're with me in this journey of learning so far. Fantastic. The last piece, of course, ladies and gentlemen, all of these 3 pieces are also important in the face-to-face environment. The last one is, of course, about managing the platform. A platform of face-to-face versus the platform that we would otherwise use in a virtual environment are different. When we use platforms like Zoom or WebEx or many other tools today that are available, it's important to get to know the platform better. There are a lot of things that we need to do before the presentation begins. Of course, making the presentation today itself was something that I did before. But even before that, it's to understand the platform, a few more things that we need to do before the presentation begins. That's the pre-presentation preparation. Next is looking your best, sounding your best. Very important on how we can use the platform better. It also comes in managing self in a way, but when it comes to using the virtual platform, it's slightly different, because while we believe that it's a virtual platform, we could be where we are, it could be a noisy environment, we could keep moving around, the camera captures everything. We could have any expression on our face, I think the camera captures everything. From what we wear to the first impressions to everything. So I think it's important to look our best, sound our best, and make the most of the functionalities of the platform that we use. So 4 essential elements that help you maximize your impact when it comes to making online presentations. Fantastic. This is the ladder of mastery, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at the 5 different levels. The first level, having to know that there are 4 elements now to make the building blocks of mastering your online presentation skills. The first is the level of strugglers. Who are strugglers? They are people who actually don't have the kind of conviction and confidence to present themselves online, number 1. They also falter in being able to craft the content because they haven't analyzed the audience. They haven't been able to figure out what they want to say in terms of a message, and they're all over. So neither is the content in place, nor do they have the conviction and confidence, and they can't connect with the audience very well. They may be first time using even a digital medium, and they are strugglers. A lot of them struggle in this medium, and because they go through the struggle once or twice, they actually give up. They give up and they don't want to again, because of the fear of failure and maybe repeating itself. They quit on the opportunity of making an impact in the virtual world. And I can tell you personally that I've seen some people who could have built this skill, but maybe that fear is bigger than the faith. The opportunity that they see is not as relevant as the challenge that they have faced. And because of that, they are strugglers. They make it difficult for themselves to make an impact in this platform. The second is people who have raw confidence. They have a lot of confidence in themselves, but somehow they're not clear with the message that they want to present. They don't understand the audience, and they don't know how to engage with the audience, because of which what they say has a limited short-term impact, but it doesn't create any transformation for the community that they communicate with and for themselves, and therefore they become scams. And we see today that a lot of webinars, a lot of courses are coming in. People demonstrate a lot of confidence. They assure a few things with their confidence, but they find it difficult to live with that, or to, kind of fulfill their commitments. And that becomes a scam. The third stage of this ladder of mastery is people who have the confidence, they have the right mindset, they can express themselves well. They also have good content. They have a message for this world. They know what they want to say. They understand the audience well, and they can, kind of connect their message to what the audience is expecting. However, they find it difficult to hold and sustain the attention of their audience. So sometimes they have a good, impactful presentation, a good meeting, people are charged, and sometimes, so it's a trial and error method. They don't know, they don't have a structured approach. They can't repeat the success that they've created for some time. They can't have it all the time. And therefore they're survivors. They're survivors because they can get through, but they're also trying their way out. So they don't have a proven and tested framework and a model. Therefore they're survivors. Look at the next level. These people are trusted advisors because they have the confidence, they know how to manage their mindset, they know how to really deliver good content, and they also know how to connect with their audience. And maybe they're missing some bit of the platform. Since they are new to this world, the virtual world is new to them, presenting themselves online, being able to use the functionalities of the platform and other things are slightly areas where they are not too confident. And because they know this, it reflects in the confidence, drop in level of confidence in their presentations. And therefore they are trusted advisors. People trust them, but they know that they can sharpen the axe when it comes to making online presentations. And of course, the last one are people who've mastered all the four. And let me tell you, only 1 to 2% of presenters today online have a mastery. They are experts because they know how it is to manage your mind during online and virtual presentations, how it is to craft and structure and deliver that content, how it is to engage audience, and eventually how it is to manage the platform well. So I just wanted to share with you that I told you about a couple of slides back that 90% of people would have not mastered this skill. And that's going to be a differentiator for people who take that first step, who will be action takers. And this is where that difference comes. Fantastic. So let's look at steps to mastery. Now that we know that these are the 5 levels of mastery, this is the ladder. What are the steps to mastery? First is managing self. We spoke of it. Second is managing content. Third is the audience. And fourth is the platform. Let's look at it one by one. Are we ready? Are we ready to look at this one by one? If you're ready, type in the chat box, BIO, bring it on. Let's check. BIO, bring it on. BIO, fantastic. Bring it on. Lovely. Good, good. We have an enthusiastic audience here, and that's good to know. Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. Excellent. So now let's look at each of these elements in slightly, in a little bit more detail. First is managing self, managing your mindset. All of us have seen and read a lot of these motivational quotes about mindset. things are created twice in life, once in your mind, once in practical life. The kind of success that you tune yourself to create in the head will eventually reflect in the world outside. A lot of us today are holding ourselves back from expressing ourselves openly and honestly in the virtual world, in the real world even, and that becomes the biggest roadblock. I've seen people who are so good with what they do. They are experts. If they speak and they can open themselves out very expressively, there's a world out there waiting for them, to express, and they can learn a lot. But somewhere, because of the kind of fear that they have in their own minds, the belief systems that they carry, and that reflects in their behavior, that gives way to a lot of nervousness and breakdowns. And that, I think, is one big reason. We spoke about how this is possibly one of the biggest fears that people have, even bigger than the fear of death, and that explains it all. So how do we manage our communication? We're going to talk about the 3 V's very quickly, and that will come under managing self. Managing content. Managing content is about 3 elements. First is select the content. How do you select the content? I have a simple formula that helps people to ensure that their content is enough. And how do you know your content is enough? You've not packed in too much, but you've also addressed the essential elements. The 5 whys actually answer the question of how much content. Who, what, when, where, how, where. So, I mean, the 5 W's, as we say, answers the question of how much content needs to be selected after we've analyzed the audience and after we've analyzed and understood what's the message that we want to communicate. If there's clarity in the mind, if we know the audience, then you select content by using the 5 W's formula. Second, you organize the content. We organize this content to ensure that it's in a structured way delivered so that the message that we want to portray and give is being able to, is going out there. So we organize this content by using the 4 T's. Of course, it's a simple one, but it's the introduction, it's the body, it's the conclusion, and it's the recommendation. So 4 parts to this content helps you to organize this better. While it's easily mentioned as the introduction, body, conclusion, and recommendation, there are parts and frameworks that help you organize this content and present it in a way that will impact your audience. And finally is to shape the content, to engage other tools necessary to make this content impactful. And that's the SOS model. And what you see below is an essential element of content preparation, because you divide your content into 3 parts: the must deliver content, the should deliver content, and the good to deliver content, or the can do content. Because it's important that you keep the high priority content up there. Yeah. So that's the SOS model. And in managing audience, this is what research has communicated to us, or has proven, that the human mind is conditioned to wander 47% of the time. Look at yourselves. It's about half an hour into our webinar now. And in half an hour, many of you would have found your minds wandering into different directions. And 47% of the time, we find that in virtual interactions, people find it difficult to stay on course. And therefore, it's important to continue engaging the audience. That's an essential element of virtual presentations, even more than it is in offline. Look at what people do during a conference call. So when there's a virtual presentation going on, when there's a virtual training program going on, this is what Harvard Business Review article has shown, that 65% of people are engaged with other work. Some of them are sending emails, a large number of them rather, a large percentage of them are eating or making food, and various other activities, playing video games, online shopping, exercising, other phone calls. Somehow our mind doesn't allow us to be in the moment. At this moment, all of you have committed yourself to be here, you've logged in, but your own mind won't allow you to be here, participate. And that's how it is for us. It's either in the worries of the past or the anxiety of the future. What will happen today evening after this call? If you have some pre-engagements, then how will that unfold? If something's not gone according to what you wanted in the day, then you're worrying about that. You're somewhere in the worries of the past or the anxiety of the future, not in the moment. And that's one big challenge that we need to really work with in the virtual world. That's something that we need to unfold. So I've broken this down to now present to you what are the barriers. Why don't people communicate, participate, and engage? Because there are three barriers to listening. One is that they have selective attention. And selective attention, we already discussed. They either are rambling in the worries of the past or the anxiety of the future. They're not in the moment. So they don't attentively listen. Only 47% of them don't even listen in that period of time. So their attentive listening skills are tested because they have selective attention. Second is selective retention. What they assimilate, only a very small percentage of that is actually retained. And to complicate it further, there is selective perception. They have their own perceptions. Your mind is already judging what I'm saying before you actually absorb the message of what I'm saying. So your mind is already judging, and that's not going to allow you to actually listen and take away the value that could unfold, because you've already made a meaning of what you're listening. So selective attention, selective retention, selective perception are the three big barriers to listening. And if we, having to make these online presentations and virtual interactions, understand that engaging audience has so many barriers, so a percentage of them don't even pay attention because of these listening barriers, we will then be able to work around this with some frameworks that today I will give you, and more that will come in the course that we will offer. You will be able to have proven and tested, experientially validated structures that will help you continue to engage your audience better. Talking of this ethos, logos, and pathos, if we want to actually create an impact from moving to giving just information to influence, if we want to stop just telling to actually selling, and that should be the purpose of our communication, to transform, get people to take action, then we need to work on this triangle of ethos, logos, and pathos. Ethos is ethics. I mean, that's the values, that the ethics, your personal belief system. People need to buy into that. People should be able to feel that. And if they feel it, they will entrust you with their belief, that their trust is with you. And if you won their trust, then it's easy for them to listen to you. It's easy for you to communicate with them. And it's easy for you to influence them. You cannot influence people if they haven't bought into you, with their trust being, you have to win their trust. And to win their trust, ethos is an important element there. Logos, as it suggests, is the logical side of you. That's the left brain. That's the message that you want to give. That's the core content. That's what's going to make a difference. But that's the IQ element of your message. So the values, the belief systems, and the ethics side of the personality is the ethos. The left brain and the intellectual side of your message and your content, which essentially is the IQ side, is the logos, and you have to balance it with the EQ side. You're dealing with people, you're dealing with individuals who have feelings. You need to touch, move, and inspire them with your message. You need to motivate and inspire them. And if you want to influence them, it's about dealing with their emotions. So that's the EQ element, which is the pathos, which is the empathy. And that's where pathos comes from. So the empathy, the core message, which is your IQ element, balanced with EQ, and then the value systems, beliefs, and your ethics. Put these three together. That's how you will win the relationship and trust of your audience. And if people like you, as Zig Ziglar has mentioned, and the way I've put it down in the slide is, if your people like you, they will listen to you. But if they trust you, then they'll do business with you. And amongst the 6 scientifically proven principles to the science of persuasion, one of them is people like to do business with people they like. We need to become likable. And we might just try and manipulate this for some time by working on logos and pathos. But if the ethos is not in place, people will see through it. They will not want to build long-term relationships. So you can influence some people all the time, all the people sometime, by manipulation. But if you really want to create a massive influence on your business, in your professional life, you want to grow to greater leadership levels, I think communication should put together all of these 3 essential elements of ethos, pathos, and logos. Fantastic. Three V's of communication. I'm going to now invite some participation here. Some of you must have heard of three V's of communication. If you have, put it in the chat box. What do you think are the three V's of communication? What are the three V's of communication? What do you think are the three V's of communication? Come on, guys. It'll be good to know. I know there are some trainers here. I know there are some entrepreneurs who've also gone through maybe a lot of courses. So what are the three V's of communication? What are the three elements that make communication effective? Yes, I see visual and verbal. Verbal, fantastic. Vocal, yes, we've got it all there. Visual, vocal, and verbal, fantastic. These are the three V's of communication. Thank you so much. We've got a very informed audience here, and I was just wanting to know and get it from you all. So these are the three V's of communication. Verbal is what we speak, the words. The content on the slide is the verbal. The content of the message. Vocal is how we express that content. Our tonality, our tone, our voice, short pauses, long pauses, a lot of things actually that make communication impactful is contained in vocal. And the last one is visual. Your body language and other elements that contain the visual. And we'll talk more about this. But now that we know that these are the three V's of communication, I have a question and I wanted to take a quick poll. The question is on the next slide. I want you to tell me, what do you think? What percentage of effective communication is attributed to verbal, vocal, and visual? If 100% is the effectiveness of communication, if you want to make communication 100% effective, what percentage is verbal, vocal, and visual as a contribution to this effectiveness? If 100% is effective communication, what percentage is given to verbal, vocal, and visual? Please put it in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at what are the answers coming. I can see verbal 20, vocal 50 by Avinash, 50, 25, 25. Okay, a few more coming in that way. 20, 15, and 65. 30, 30, 40. All are equal. Soumya says visual is 55. Shant says 30, 40, 30. Vishaka says 33, 33, 33. Fantastic. 10, 30, 60. Amir says 25, 25, 50. Chandu says 40, 50, 10. Fantastic. 33 each. Nice. We got a lot of different views coming in, and that's good to know. So 50, 30, 20. Okay. Some people feel 50% is verbal, 30% is vocal, and 20% is visual. And some people feel it's the other way around. 20, 20, 40. Okay. But that makes it 80 only. But I understand all are equal. Okay, fantastic. So thank you. Thank you. We've got a lot of responses, and we understand that, okay, one inference I will derive out of all your responses is the way you feel about the importance of verbal, vocal, and visual. If you give verbal 50% importance, what will you focus on when you deliver your presentation? You will focus on what to say, what to say, what to say. 3 days before your presentation, you will go crazy, working all night in putting your matter together, maybe learning it, maybe rehearsing it, and that's the importance you attach to verbal. And maybe vocal will be important, but lesser in importance. And visual, if you feel it's only 20%, 10%, you might not focus on that, and you might lose out if the actual statistics or actual percentage is higher attributed to that. So the way you believe the importance of verbal, vocal versus visual, it will reflect in your communication online and offline. Yes or no? Come on, let me just understand from you. Why did I ask you this is because I want to know what is your belief when it comes to verbal, vocal, and visual. So if your belief that verbal and vocal is higher than visual, will it reflect in your communication accordingly? If you feel it's yes, put yes in the chat box. Fantastic. Padmini, Navya, Saral, Kanchan, Avinash, Seema, all of you say yes. So your effective presentation delivery will be in accordance to the belief and what you believe is the importance of these three V's. Now, do you want to know what is the actual importance in terms of percentage of effectiveness that verbal, vocal, and visual have? Do you want to know? If you want to know, put there, bring it on, BIO. BIO. Fantastic. Because this will be an important revelation, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, if you just apply this one thing today from this webinar, you will see a huge difference in the way you are able to express yourself and the way you can impact the audience that you're expressing to. And this is my guarantee. So be with me, pay attention, don't allow for selective attention, selective retention, and selective perception to play a role right now. Connect with me, stay on for the next 10 minutes, and this could create a breakthrough in your life and the way you communicate. So this is what it is. Visuals have 55% of effectiveness when it comes to effective communication. And this is so different than many of us actually believe it is. Many of us think that visual aspects is not so important. And when it comes to virtual presentation, some of us might even argue that visuals is not important. I can't even see a person visually as much. So how can visuals be so important? And what do visuals entail? It entails your posture, your eye contact, your gestures, and the energy that you carry, the conviction that you carry. So many behavioral sciences and scientists have proven the fact that before a presentation begins, before we even get into the topic, people have already decided and judged. Those are the first impressions, and those first impressions, even in a virtual world, are based on visuals. Of course, visual aids like PPTs, that the way you're seeing it, what gets into the PPT, videos, everything else becomes a part of visual, which is an important visual aid by itself, a presentation aid, part of the content itself. But all of these visuals, be it visual aids and the visuals that you see contained in this 55%, are so essential that if we miss this, 55% of effectiveness in communication is already at stake. Is this shocking? Is this surprising? If it's surprising, put in the chat box surprising. If it's surprising, if it surprised some of you, then put surprised and surprising maybe in the chat box. Yeah, it surprised many of us, isn't it? I always like to ask this question in my training programs, that how many of us believe that visuals is actually 55%? Many of us give it less importance, and that's clearly even experienced when we actually deliver our communication. So it is quite surprising. It was surprising to me many years back when I understood this. And ever since I understood this, I continue to work on this. And I believe today that a large part of my effectiveness in communication is on visual aspects. When it comes to virtual and online presentations, then it's also the visuals that people get to see, which is your background. Today you can customize your background, the logo that you put, the presentation that you make, the structure of the presentation, the colors you use, many things, the attire you wear, eye contact, facial expressions, body language, postures, gestures, a lot of this. So you are your presentation, ladies and gentlemen. There is no it's not the presentation that matters, you are the presentation. So your visual appeal matters the most, and that's 55% of effectiveness in communication. Verbal is surprising very low. I believe visual is higher. These are comments that I'm reading in the chat box. It triggers our subconscious mind, absolutely. People think that verbal is very low. Unfortunately, it is true. So some of you can do a bit of a Google search on this, read up. There's a lot of content on this. There's a lot of science. It's been tested, proven, experientially validated, and it's shocking. Vocal. What we say is not as important as how we say. And that's where vocal creates a difference. 38% of our effectiveness in communication is through vocal. Let me give you an example if some of you find it hard to believe. A sentence, I popularly use this in my training programs. A woman without her man is nothing. I have nothing against the women right now, but just stay with me. Don't judge it. No selective perception here. A woman without her man is nothing, is the statement I'm making. Let me make the same statement. The content is going to be the same, but I'm just going to change the vocals. And let's see if there could be a kind of a meaning that we can derive out of this. A woman without her man is nothing. A woman without her man is nothing. What message do we get out of the way I express this? Who's nothing? The woman is nothing or the man is nothing? A woman without her man is nothing. So in the chat box, can some of you put what you derive out of this message that I just delivered? Women are nothing, according to Kanchan. Women are nothing, according to Vipassana. So it is very clear. I understand that some of you have figured out that in the way I've expressed myself, and as I mentioned, I have nothing against women. We just celebrated Women's Day a few days back. But in the way I've expressed it right now, it means that a woman without a man is nothing. I can further accentuate with the visuals. Now let me just speak the same sentence in my own different ways using different vocals. Just the pause will change. A woman without her man is nothing. A woman without her man is nothing. Who's nothing now? The woman or the man? Now the man is nothing, right? Now the man is nothing. So what's changed is not the verbal, not the 7%. What's changed is the tone, it's the pause, it's the pitch, it's the modulation, it's the short pause that created all the difference. And in this just one example, we could figure out that how much of a difference can our tone, our voice, our modulation, our short pauses, how much can it make a difference? So it's not what you say, it's how you say that makes all the difference. It's how you say that changes the way people will accept your message. That's the EQ component also that we can trigger. The way we can make people feel is all about how we can use our vocals, our tonality, our voice in a better way. And I think when it comes to virtual communication, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's about telephonic communication, whether it's about webinars, whether it's about face-to-face interactions on the video platform, it's the voice that makes all the difference. The energy in your voice, the tone of your voice, how fast you speak, all of this makes a big difference to the effectiveness of communication. And that's the 38%. And unfortunately, for people who are in shock right now, it's only 7%. And why are we shocked is because a lot of us spend a lot of time preparing what to say. And we believe that it's only if we have all the content in place, we can be very confident. No doubt that you need to know your content. No doubt that you need to be an expert in what you say, because you should take advice only from the wise. There are a lot of people giving free advice today, but they're not as wise maybe. And that's when we'll find out when we continue to engage with them. So we need to take advice from the wise. So it's important to be wise. However, verbal is only 7% of our effectiveness in communication. So matter and content are important, but there's enough matter and content for people today online. They don't need to meet you online or face-to-face and learn from you. If you don't have a message, you can transform information to insight through the non-verbal communication. So if there's information, it will tell. If you can create insight, you will sell. If you want to move away from information to insight, to influence, to transformation, then I think we need to use non-verbal communication impactfully, because 93% of communication is non-verbal. Go back to the quote that I mentioned at the start of this presentation, that 90% of the people will not be prepared with this skill. And that's going to be a differentiator for many of us today who've taken the first step on this webinar. When we build effective online presentations and we are pros in it, when we know how to use the body language and the vocals well, 93% of effectiveness in communication is what we will master. And that's the 90% difference that we will make. The 10% of them who are going to be strugglers are people who will believe that it's only verbal that will matter. If they can't present themselves convincingly, they can't hold the attention and engagement of the audience, they might just lose out even if they have good content. And that's going to be the differentiator. And that's how effective online presentations is as much a necessity today than it ever was. How do we help participants gain and remember what they have taken? So that's a big challenge in online presentations. How do you remember and retain? Look at the quote I've put below. Tell me and I'll forget. Because we keep telling people, they keep forgetting. Mothers face the same issue with children. Husbands face the same issue with wives. Employers face the same issue with their employees. We keep telling people, they forget. Because we are telling, right? We need to teach them. Maybe they'll remember for some time. But if we involve them, they will learn. Now, this is the cardinal principle of learning, which is reflected in the percentages that I'm just displaying to you on the screen, that 10% of people will remember what they hear. 20% of them will remember what they read. And you see the visual element adding that extra 10% in learning. 80% of them will remember if they have seen it. And that 55% of visuals is reflected in this. And these are not my statistics. These are picked up from resources online, and they've been put here. 90% of people learn and retain most of what they have participated in. That's experiential learning. So if you're wanting to create a difference in people's lives, when you present online, involve them, run it through them like a poll, or get their views, make it participative, make it two ways. And that's how we can get people involved. And that's how we can create learning for all of them. So these are percentages that I want to leave with you, because this somewhere reflects that 55, 38, and 7%, the 3 V's of communication, and how it can impact the learning journey that will help us communicate so that people retain and remember our message. The last element is about managing the platform. And these essential elements of managing platforms is something that I wanted to share with you today. It's about being human. We spoke about the EQ element, being respectful of colleagues' times, again, somewhere in the EQ element, using video tools effectively. We need to really know a little bit more about how these tools can work to our advantage and use them. Providing an audio dial-in option for those who can't connect on video, testing the technology ahead of time. We've seen a lot of people. I've attended a few webinars, and surprisingly, there are people who have to conduct the webinar who join in 5-10 minutes late, and they join in, of course, defensively, saying that I did not check the technology, I couldn't sign in on time, I have to download Zoom, and I just downloaded the same today. So somewhere, I think if you want to be online, I think you need to respect time even more than in a face-to-face meeting. You need to be empathetic, and you need to welcome people. You need to, of course, be in control of the platform, know how it works, and ensure everyone's point of view is heard, engage them. Small tips on how we can use the platform. A lot of this is available online, and in a structured way, available in the course that we also offer. So 4 essential elements that make effective online presentations like a pro. We covered managing self, managing content, managing the audience, and managing the platform. Now, let me tell you, how do you start from where you are now, and how do you travel this journey to become an expert? So what is the evolution of an expert? I congratulate you for taking the first step, coming into the webinar, and I think this webinar is just an insight. It's a peek into these 4 elements, understanding the building blocks of what makes an effective online presentation. And that's the 90 minutes masterclass that now you are currently attending. The next level in this journey is the level 1. I call it the head start. The head start is basically an online live module on a webinar, like a Zoom platform itself, where we will conduct a very well structured, carefully curated, experientially validated, scientifically proven kind of module, easily digested over 2 hours, 6 modules, totaling to 12 hours. That's the journey that we will offer people who are ready to take action and move ahead to sharpen such skills today. So that's the level 1, where 12 hours of online live training is available. It will start shortly. I'm going to talk to you about the dates shortly. Once you come into this, we believe that this is not just about knowledge. It's not about what you've known in the webinar today that's going to make a difference. It's about how you can apply this. And application is what will transfer knowledge to make it a skill. So applied knowledge becomes a skill. This is an essential skill today. It's not about knowledge. Many people think that if I know it, it's enough. Nothing changes because we have known so much in our lives. We haven't changed a large part of our lives, even if we've known it. So today is about knowing a bit. And once you've entered this path to becoming an expert, then I think we will add you into an inner circle group where learning is continuous. It's lifelong learning. You become a part of a network that grows. That network, engaging with that network, interacting with them, continuous value additions through that network and through us will ensure that inputs that will come on this and platforms that will be available to you to express yourself will help you to convert this knowledge to skills. And that's the confidence that will grow. That's going to reflect in the conviction, structuring content better, connecting with audience better, gaining their attention, sustaining attention, getting more engagement, better results, influence, business, impact. That's the journey that will continue. After the level 1, where we will introduce you frameworks, tools, techniques, tips, or tips and strategies, we will move this one level up to level 2, which is good to great. Here again, we introduce a 12-hour live online training session, again broken into 2 hours each, 6 different sessions online. And if some of you actually miss out a couple of sessions, we will record them live and share them with you. So that's something that we want to do, because we are committed to people who make their commitment to their own personal development. So we'll ensure that no learning is missed out, and we continue that at the next level of learning. I'm going to talk to you about what is level 1 in a little more detail and showcase you level 2. We move this inner circle group to mastermind sessions. We'll have ongoing sessions every fortnight. Like you're attending a webinar today of 90 minutes, we will bring you 60-minute webinar live sessions, recorded sessions, all of this, because we understand that when the community grows, there are concerns, there are questions, there are experiences, there are challenges that you might face. And to help you overcome all of this, we will answer all of these challenges, come with solutions, brainstorm, engage the community, and add value to your community, because that's a journey that each of us will travel together. And eventually, we will create value through focusing on the individual. We don't want individuals' aspirations to be lost. Depending on the aspiration goals that you have, I call it the ego, which is E is expectations, G is goals, and O is the objectives. So everyone has a big ego, and that's a good big ego to have, not the regular other ego, but this is a good ego to have. Expectations, goals, and objectives. Having to understand your expectations, goals, and objectives, we will give you transformation through one-to-one coaching. So that's the journey of an expert that we are proposing today. So communication mastery, just to show it to you in a different visual, you attend a webinar today, you give your commitment to learning scientific structures, principles, and various other tools and techniques in the level 1. Take it to the next level where you continue learning and improve on that, advanced techniques, frameworks, and practice at level 2. And that's the journey that we travel together. What do we do in addition to this? Through the mastermind, through the various one-to-one coaching sessions, we will give individualized feedback through the traffic light system. The traffic light framework, which is red, amber, and green, RAG. Red is what you need to stop doing. Amber is what you can continue doing, because that's the observation we will have of you interacting with the platform. A lot of these activities, a lot of presentations that we will observe of you both live and on video will help us understand how we could give you these feedbacks. There's a panel of experts that we will also engage so that these are meaningful and impactful to you. And green is what you can start doing and continue to do in that sense. Yeah, so this is the outline, 12 modules carefully crafted for 12 hours, 6 sessions, 2 hours each. You've got the getting started module where we will lay the foundation, how presenting on a virtual platform is different, its unique challenges in module 2, what you need to manage. We've discussed a little bit about this. We'll understand more of it in the 3rd module. 4th module is about managing yourself. We'll take a deep dive into this. We'll actually look at what is holding you back. How can we free you from your own preconditions that you've had in your mindset? What's holding you back? And there are some techniques, there are some ways in which you can actually work on this, and we'll help you to free yourself from that and help yourself express your mind better, your message better. So eliminate fears and conquer nervousness is module 5. Planning and preparation. How do you plan? What's the purpose? How do you build your objectives? How do you know your venue, platform, and audience better, so that helps the planning preparation process. Content and design is the next element. How do you craft the presentation story better? How do you use the SOS model and maximize engagement? The ABC approach too. Okay, that's the agenda, body, and conclusion of your PowerPoint. And if you have a powerful PowerPoint, but you don't have power in your point, which means if you can't hold the attention of your audience and you can't present yourself well, but you're depending too much on your content, then your PowerPoint will have no point. So you need to have power in your own point. And how that is done is the delivery module. How do you get comfortable? How do you deliver good to great virtual presenters? What do they use? And how can we use the best practices and frameworks in our own lives? Last one is about managing audience, the Top Gear module. And how do we ask questions? How do we engage an audience? How do we handle difficult audience? How do you use the AIDA model? And eventually answer questions using the PAF model. That's how we could work around it. Incidentally, the PAF is paraphrase the question and then answer it and then give feedback or assess the feedback of your. So that's the PAF. And how do you end with the bank, and finally wrapping up. So this is the outline. I have a question to ask. Since the audience has been quite interactive, this is an option I had kept, and I thought I will only ask this question if I find the audience interacting quite actively. And I believe that this is an active audience, so I want to ask this question. Do you want to see the actual value of this entire framework? Do you want to see this? If you want to see this, try BIO, bring it on. Because I'm going to take you through a mind map that will actually showcase to you what this entire thing, when you go to the next level, is. Fantastic. Great. So let me now open this mind map. What you will see is a lot of clutter, but I'll try to make sense of this clutter. Be with me as we walk through it step by step. Okay. Yes. So this is the mind map. Let me just zoom it and go to one side of it. I would rather do this live, but given the paucity of time, I want to just show it to you in about 5 minutes. So need for virtual presentations, as you see on the left, is the essential skill today. What's the difference between face-to-face virtual interactions? We've got a lot of differences, and that's what we'll uncover as we progress in our journey of collaborative work on this, in this program ahead, in this engagement journey ahead. Information versus insight, we spoke about it, but how do you make that happen? Growing influence and impact using virtual platform, improving your collaboration. And that's how we use this, right? You use your virtual interactions today to improve collaboration, negotiate, close, do more business, training, coaching, engagement, connect, all of this. So that's the need for virtual presentations. Who needs it? We today spoke of it. Entrepreneurs, business owners need it, professionals, corporates, trainers and coaches, graduates and women. All of us today need to sharpen this skill, the essential skill of delivering online presentations. Let's look at the 4 essential elements we covered. Managing self is about managing the presenter's mindset first, gaining the presenter's mindset in that sense. Belief and self-image. Eliminate fear and build confidence is another module contained in Manage Self. Communication, we spoke of the 3 V's. How do we actually put it into practice? Make it an essential skill. Behaviors and actions to become a part of managing self. So that's one big piece of this module, level 1. We also will cover what's the purpose of creating the content, followed by analyzing your audience. What kind of an audience are you speaking to? I shared with you 5 W's of the SOS module. How do we actually work on the 5 W's? There are frameworks to help you craft your content very powerfully. Having to select your content, to organize the content with the 4 T's, the introduction, the body, the conclusion, the recommendation. How do you put that into a framework? Finally, how do you actually structure it? Structure it using the 4 P's. Okay, so that's what we will be talking of. Finally, the structure of the PPT, which is ABC, I mentioned of it, and the agenda, the body, and the conclusion. How do you prepare your PPT, and maybe work with you together to help you prepare an effective presentation too. Making audio, how do you manage audience? Building rapport, relationship, trust, building the pillars of engagement through ethos, pathos, and logos. Perceptual and inquiry arousal are the 2 elements of engagement. Presentation aids are how do you use stories? the art of storytelling when you're making presentations is so very important. Case lists and examples, how do you use them? The MVP rule is the minimum variable principle rule of making PPTs, and how do you apply it to your presentation? Humor, energizers, quizzes, breakouts, all of these become part of engagement aids. And finally, the Top Gear strategy. It's an acronym TOPGEAR. That's what will unfold in the course that we are going to offer all of you. That will help you create engagement. And finally, answering and asking questions. We spoke about the 3P technique and the PAF method, both relevant in asking and answering questions. That helps you to engage audience. Finally, talking of the platform, what do we need to do before the presentation? How do you look your best and sound your best and engage the functionalities of the platform? So that's essentially a deep dive into how we've envisioned the course, how we've built it for you, and how it can create a big impact holistically to maximize your impact in the online and virtual world. Sorry, this is, yes. So yes, was this valuable? If it was valuable in the chat box, can I hear you? Can I see you putting in valuable? It's not visible. Is it not visible? I see a couple of comments that it's not visible. Yes, thank you so much for acknowledging that it's valuable so far. We've carefully crafted this on the request that many entrepreneurs and professionals had of creating a course that can actually add real value to their lives. Yeah, highly valuable. Fantastic. It's visible and it's valuable. I move ahead. Let me now take you through what I have to offer to you today. So, making online presentations like a pro. I've spoken to you about these 4 modules, which are the level 1 program called the Head Start. And people who are serious on the call, who are action takers, I invite you to actually take that first step in this journey of learning, because in this journey of learning, that will begin by you taking this first step and the first commitment. I can tell you that you will see immense value, not just the value that I showed you just now. If many of you have acknowledged that all of this is already valuable, then let me tell you that the Head Start program otherwise is priced at 15,000 rupees. The 12-hour journey that you will travel, live webinar with all of the inputs that you will gain on these 4 modules. However, given that many of you are quite serious about this, quite interested in this, I'm very happy to give you a few bonus packages along with this today. As a webinar offer, I want to give you a few bonus packages. And are you willing to, are you interested in some gifts and bonuses? If you are, put yes in the chat box. If you're interested in some bonuses and some more value that we can give you to help you take that first step of commitment. Fantastic. You see a lot of yeses. Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. So let me tell you what I can give you as a bonus. So you have bonus 1. Bonus 1 is 3 V's blueprint. You just understood how important are the 3 V's today. How visuals and vocals are more kind of effective when it comes to making an impact rather than just the verbals. And we have a blueprint that will help you kind of increase the impact of your visuals and vocals, and that's what we offer. We can help you conquer nervousness in a very structured way, and many of you acknowledged in the beginning that there's something that's putting your confidence low, making you nervous, and we'll work on that. We have a framework for it, and we help you analyze audience better. There is a psychometric tool that will help you understand how you can analyze audience in a very scientific way. It will help you structure your content. All of these bonuses, apart from the Head Start module, again priced at 15,000, is a bonus number 1. Bonus number 2 is a special presentation situations module. You understand that you don't make the same presentations to all the audience and in all kind of situations. There could be special situations where your presentation needs to be done maybe on the feet, maybe differently, and how can you make that creative? How can you make that different? That's the bonus number 2. Making impromptu presentations, engaging people without having to prepare for it. How do you do that? Delivering sales presentations. I come from a sales background, and for me, I think it makes a lot more kind of I find it valuable to offer this experience in a structured way, helping you deliver better sales presentations. And there's a technique. It's called the fabbing technique, and how you can build it into your sales presentation. Feature advantage and benefit technique. That's what is an extra bonus. And then the seminar and workshop blueprint. If you're a trainer, coach, if you're supposed to be doing training as a part of your professional job on a daily basis for your team, then I think doing this workshop and seminar blueprint will add a lot of value. Also priced at 15,000. Finally, we have the third bonus. That's the participant ebook. Now, this I think is extremely valuable. The participant ebook is an actual, I would say it's a book by itself, a 40 to 50 page book that will carry all the structures, all the techniques, how it is used, the scripts even. And that's what you will go through and get as an ebook at the end of your program and the engagement. One-to-one coaching session, the first one, where you can actually get a one-to-one opportunity for an hour to be able to structure things, your content, and how you can approach for your first presentation. That 1 hour coaching is coming as a bonus. And the mastermind community for continuous learning, which is a lifelong kind of network that you will build that will add huge value to each of our lives. I think this is priceless. I mean, I can't even attach a price to it, but we've put it as 15,000. So all of this together worth 60,000. The full bundle is otherwise worth 60,000 plus GST. And as I mentioned to you, you can see these as bonuses. So I have a great gift to offer to you if you're willing to take that first step of making a commitment today. What's that first one? I want to give you a webinar special offer today. If some of you are taking the commitment, if you're taking the first step to taking action on this, then I want to give you a webinar special offer. The full bundle, instead of 60,000 plus GST, is now only 9,999 plus GST. I mean, today, a coaching session that I do for entrepreneurs and business owners is itself that price. One training program that you take up anywhere, or even online, if it's not live, is sometimes even more priced than what I'm offering today. And I think for the kind of structure of the program, for the kind of depth in the content, this itself is a great price. So how many of you feel this is a good price? I'd like to know from you in the chat box, this is a good price. Versus 60,000, this is a great price, great value. Great value, great. Fantastic. Anybody else who feels good price, great value? Thanks, Seema. Thanks, Shivek. Fantastic. So some of you already find a great value in this. Now, while I was discussing this, knowing that DigiGrad is offering this for the first time, and we are doing this for the first time on this platform with all of you, we've made this even sweeter, ladies and gentlemen, today. And we made this sweeter for those of you who want to take action now. For those of you who want to take action now, for today only, we have another special offer. For those of you on this webinar, we have an offer of 3,500 plus GST. A full bundle price, whatever you've seen, the 4 modules, including the coaching, including the ebook, all the frameworks, all the tools, techniques, and the program. 6 sessions, 2 hours each, starting from the 30th of May, continuing till the 14th of June. That's the journey of 12 hours at level 1, which is the Head Start module, continuing after that into all of this full bundle at 3,500. I invite Abhishek to share the link in the chat box. There's a link if some of you want to take this step forward. And yes, Abhishek has shared the link, and that link will guide you to how you can take this payment forward. While some of you can use the link, let me just take you through the last 2-3 slides and then open it up for Q&A for the last 5 minutes. Now you have a 90-day roadmap that I've built towards excellence. This 90-day roadmap today has started on the 12th of May by you attending this webinar. On the 30th of May, we start the first module which is the Head Start module, and it goes on till the 14th of June. Saturday and Sunday, we have 2-hour sessions each. On Saturday and on Sunday, every Saturday and Sunday, that's for 3 weeks. We have 6 sessions, 2 hours each, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. That's when we will go through this together, the Head Start level 1. This moves to level 2 in July. That's when we launch level 2, and we'll share with you the framework of level 2. That's the good to great. One-to-one coaching continues in this journey. You, of course, enter the community and mastermind and other sessions that follow. And customized inputs aligned to, as I told you, the big ego, expectations, goals, and clarities. That's in July and August. From May to August is a 90-day journey that you can travel and ensure that you master the art of making online presentations like a pro. Now, we have 2-3 alternatives available for people. 2 routes. Those of you who are on the call right now, 2 routes available. Option 1, you have the link. If you liked what you heard, if you feel this is an essential skill, you need to build on it, use the link, get on, make your initial commitment. And I can tell you, for those people who are making a commitment today, I am committed to make a real difference in your life, add immense value, because I believe that if you've shown your commitment today for 90 minutes and you're going to spend your time on this course and in the community, you will derive 10x value or more from this. So join us in this journey. That's the option 1. Option 2 is, if you like what you've heard and you believe it's a good skill, but you don't want this program, that's fine. No problem. Join someone else. Take up another course, because this is a non-negotiable skill, ladies and gentlemen. It's important for us to sharpen the axe when the curtains are raised. This is an essential skill in the new world. If it's not with me, if it's not with this course, if it's not Head Start, whatever it is, there are courses that could be offered outside. Take up a course, but do it somewhere, if not here. So 2 routes, go this way or go that way. But don't take the route that I'm now showing you. The other route is the U-turn. Avoid the U-turn in this learning curve of life, because I see a lot of people attending a lot of webinars. There are a lot of webinars today. Every day, to track the number of webinars, it's becoming difficult. Sometimes I have to keep a calendar of how many webinars are running. So attending a webinar can add some value, can give you some insight. And a lot of webinars that we attend, we gain something, but we don't take action. And we go back, we take a U-turn. We don't go forward in it. The only way forward is gain something today. Don't believe that the knowledge will help you to transform yourself. Look at the number of webinars you might have attended. Has it really made a difference? We are sometimes a little lazy, or we sometimes need that extra push, the motivation to be a part of a community. If not this, join somewhere or join this, but take that first step, because if you want to get what you don't have, you need to take an action like you've never taken before. This is your time for action. And the best investment is an investment that you can make in yourself, because the more you learn, the more you will earn. That's what Warren Buffett has mentioned. And I think it's very relevant in the context of the COVID period, where it's given an opportunity for us to learn more. So for only today, you have this offer, 3,500. You have the link available. And I'm opening this up for a 5-minute interaction. We are at 5:30. So those of you who have any questions, this is your time. You can put your questions in the chat box. You can unmute yourself and ask any questions that you may have. And I'll be happy to answer these questions as a 5-minute extension to the 90-minute that we had proposed. Apologies, since we are going 5 minutes ahead of time. And if any of you have a question, put it in the chat box. I'll be happy to pick it up. Anyone who would like to mute, come on video and ask a question. I'm happy. Anybody who has something to say about the program, what have you learned? Anything that you're taking away from the session that you think you'll implement in your life? Any commitment you want to give to yourself of implementing some learning from today's session will be good to hear. I think it'll become a good recap. Okay, visual impact is humongous. Fabulous session. Thank you so much. Should I follow a routine before a presentation? Should you follow a routine before you make a presentation is one question I'm getting from the chat box. Of course, I mean, following a routine means there's a kind of a framework that always works with great presenters online and offline. They think they do a specific set of activities before the presentation. In fact, there are some tricks available on how you can tune your mind even 2 minutes before a presentation if you're feeling nervous. That starts with managing your mind and yourself. There are things that you need to do before a presentation in terms of developing and structuring your content. We discussed some of this, and there are frameworks applicable there. Connecting with your audience before the presentation, important. Understanding the audience before the presentation, important. And preparing a set of energizers, activities, and presentation aids before the presentation, important. And of course, then knowing what you are going to leave the audience with, the the plan of action is also very important. So all of this is a pre-presentation activity that I think all of us can work on. These are tips, frameworks available in the module and the program. Happy to share them with all of you as we continue in this engagement going forward. And as I mentioned, for all of us, an essential skill I'm learning in this journey. I've started to learn more intensely. And since I've done this at a corporate level, I'm happy to offer it here. But I think we will learn together. It's a community that will learn, because all of us are introduced to this new world where this new skill is essential. And let's build this essential skill together. And that's the whole proposal that we have for this evening. How to plan for seamless content relevant to audience. So we spoke a little bit about how to make content relevant to audience. That's the SOS module. How do you select the content according to the audience and the message? How do you organize the content, and how do you structure it in a well-structured presentation? What goes into the presentation apart from just the content, visual, other aids, and other engaging content that gets added. So SOS is a framework. I could only share with you the what of the framework. The how of the framework, of course, will come in the program at a very detailed level. Still confused why the voice impact is only 7%. Yes, Chandu. I'm also quite surprised from the time I learned it, because I also believed that you should know a lot before you speak, and that knowledge is what will transform. But when it comes to communication, verbal and non-verbal put together, verbal scores very less, non-verbal scores higher, because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that makes the hell of a difference. Even in a digital mode, yes, tone matters, visuals matter. Even if some of us were to make contextually a different presentation, 7 could go slightly higher, but it will not replace visuals as 53 for sure. Have I missed any other question? Let me just look at it. Helpful session. Thank you so much. Current scenario, very useful. Thank you so much. How do we plan seamless content? Sonal, I've answered that. Seema has something. Did I miss it? Nikita, an insightful session. Okay, thanking DigiGrad. Yes, thank you, DigiGrad, for bringing this. Do I have any other question? I've left any other question, ladies and gentlemen? Anybody else would like to share their learning? Okay. Abhishek, if I missed any question, you could please highlight it. What are the impromptu changes you can make when you are delivering a presentation? Of course, I think any amount of preparation done before is never enough, because you never know the kind of audience, you never know the kind of questions. We have a silent audience today. We could have a lot of noise. We could have people coming up and asking more demanding questions. We can have a challenging audience. You can get into negotiations as part of your presentation. So I think you need to be thinking on your feet. That's where some bit of frameworks, like how can you ask questions? How can you take questions? There can be challenging questions. So you have a PAF model. How do you paraphrase the question? Many times you end up answering the wrong question. First paraphrase it, then answer it. And you need not answer it yourself. You can get others to get involved and participate in. And F is gain feedback. if the question that you answered has been well acknowledged and received, if you really answered that question. So I think some of these simple frameworks, even in a situation where you're not prepared, helps you to be in control rather than completely lose it in that sense. So that's a part of the course, definitely. How do you make impromptu presentations and how do you alter it on the go, on the move? Yeah. So interactive presentation, and I thank all of you who've given us your kind words and acknowledged the value that you've derived out of this. Thank you for your participation. How important is backdrop and environment? Oh, extremely important. And that's why you today see functionalities available on most of these platforms where you can change the background, you can add your logo, you can add the kind of branding. I think it adds that professional touch. Background is important. And sometimes if you don't keep a good background, it can be distractive. Dark backgrounds, textured backgrounds, all of this. So today I had to, in this situation, come away from home, come to my office and make this, because I believe while I don't have the best background, even here, this is at least a plain background. It helps people to focus on me. So background is important. You can change the background today to whatever you like, depending on the context of the presentation. Environment, of course, the environment that helps you focus. Now today I have ensured that nobody is in the office because I know there'll be noise there. I mean, even if it was working hours, ensure that the environment that you have is in control so that nothing can go wrong. Environment plays a role on your mind. Your mind therefore plays a role on your behavior. That reflects in your conviction, that reflects in the outcome of your presentation, of course, plays a role. So choose an environment where you can be your best, an environment that you have control on, a backdrop that reflects you and your brand adds a lot of value. Okay, have I missed any other question? All questions covered is what Abhishek tells me. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just leave you with a few coordinates in case you want to connect back with us. Whether it's a corporate workshop or this module, any questions that you may have that you couldn't ask on this, you can reach us through the 2 email IDs as well as my contact number available here. I understand some of you have dropped out for other commitments. For those of you who are with us so far, we have about 38, 40 of you. Thank you so much for staying a little longer than the 90 minutes that we had asked from you. We've overshot by 7-8 minutes. I hope the session was valuable. I hope you have a few takeaways. I hope you will implement and become action takers and make a massive difference in your lives and the lives of people that you communicate with. Thank you so much for joining us. I sign off on this note.